So a little bit about myself. My name is Niel Isdale. I'm a customer success leader here in Sydney, Australia. My focus during my career has definitely been one of happen chance, quite likely, and I think that's quite common from a lot of people that you kind of fall into things. But if I think about where it all started for me, and it wasn't called customer success back then, and it's still also commonly known as bartending. And that was sort of my background and first introduction to what I didn't know at the time was the beginnings of customer success. That's really that, and that is really understanding what the customer needs, the problems they're trying to overcome, or what they are having a challenge with, and then providing a service or experience that addresses that specific pain point or problem or disconnection to belief. And I found I had a real passion for understanding the customer and then sort of changing their mindset. And so for me, that's where it all began back in 2000, the year 2000. And it was a great 4 years in Edinburgh. And that brought me here to Sydney, Australia, where I, again, sort of kept bartending, but then got into a customer support role with my engineering background. And that was, in my mum's eyes, as she likes to say, my first proper job. And fast forward over the next 16 years here in Australia, I've worked my way through a transactional support model in an electronic hardware business, which was my first one. And then I transitioned into a SaaS business at Ansarada, which was a mergers and acquisitions technology platform. And that was my first taste of trying to build and create a customer success function from a historically transactional service reactive based support model. And it was there I was introduced to the lead manager of customer success at LinkedIn. And we were mentoring and coaching each other on all things customer success, people, technology, building at speed and for scale. And we struck out quite the partnership. And when the opportunity came up for us to possibly work together, we jumped at the chance. And I spent my last 2 years there. And my focus there was always value-led and people-led leadership, with a focus on transformation and professional and personal development. And I also do that in my spare time on Tuesday evenings for a men's mental health group and supporting men's battle with coming to terms with addiction, behavioral issues, confidence, or professional development as well. So, and that's all sort of been part of my journey over the last 6 years as well. And I suffered a period of depression about 6 years ago, and that was the turning moment for me and my career, was understanding what was driving that and navigating my way out of it. And so this is just a way of me giving a little bit back to the community. And now I've just started my own business consulting and helping businesses, tech businesses, I should say, scaling and building up their businesses and getting themselves ready for tomorrow. The best and worst career advice I've ever received. I don't think I've ever genuinely had any bad career advice. I don't necessarily believe it's anything's bad advice. I think there's lessons to be learned along the way. And I also don't believe in regrets or wishing I hadn't done something or said something. It's what I've learned from that experience or from that piece of advice. I will say, though, that I did have a really, really poor experience in my first, coming back to that first proper job that my mum would tell people about. And that is the leader there of that business taught me everything not to do as a people leader. Really, really strong entrepreneur, and my business acumen was really high. But his people and emotional intelligence was left a lot to be desired. And that, it led to my severe period of disengagement and depression. But when I look back at, what do I learn from an experience like that? And that for me was a motivator and a reminder of how not to treat people, how not to approach problems with people, and how not to lead people. And so I'll be forever grateful for that experience, because I wouldn't be the leader I am today without it. And then the best career advice I've ever gotten, I think it's quite common, or at least I think it's quite common, is fail fast and fail often, or in reverse, fail often and fail fast. And again, it's coming back to that, what did you learn piece, and how do you put that into practice to move things forward and to keep innovating or iterate. And that can be true in any environment. So whether that's people leadership, or whether that's a lot of the background in the businesses I've worked in is like that agile development or project management environment, is you got to keep moving forward. So yeah, it doesn't matter how slowly you're moving forward or how quickly, as long as you're moving forward and keeping that momentum. I think it's been the biggest piece of advice for me. If there was something I wish I'd known at the beginning of my career that I knew now, oh, what would it be? That's a really, really good question. That is a tough one. I think for me, it would be, I actually wish I'd learned more about the importance of data and analytics and using that to check my gut. I think ever since primary school, high school, I've always flown by the seat of my pants a lot of the time, and it's worked out well. And it was working out well until about, again, that period coming back to my first job, and that leading into depression. But knowing what I know now, I think I would just wish I'd brought a level of data into my sort of decision-making process. Being a people leader, I often felt that I'd failed people when I wasn't able to see them succeed or transform or overcome performance issues. I took a lot of that on personally. I think the biggest mistake I would take is I would take it on too personally, and that wears and weighs on you a little. So I think I would. The lesson I've learned is knowing that I have given my all, and I absolutely back myself and lead with that level of integrity to know that I have given everything and done right by the other person, whether or not they feel the same way. But just knowing and having the checks and asking the right questions and the level of feedback from those around you that have that sort of neutral position to just a level of sense check is really, really important. And I think that for me is not necessarily, again, staying away from the word mistake, but the biggest lesson I've learned from slight missteps, perhaps, or the way I own feeling. There's actually a really good book called Extreme Ownership. It was written by a Navy SEAL called Jocko Wilson. I highly recommend the book. But he talks a lot about extreme ownership in any situation. So whether you're a leader or an individual contributor in a business or just in your personal life. And what I mean by that is I think it's however you've contributed to a situation, if you've been personally involved or your teams have been involved, or even if you haven't, but you've received a result that is less than favorable in your mind, you've still got extreme ownership or general overall ownership on how you receive that result or how you receive feedback. And I think for me, that was a sort of a big learning for me as well, is just reminding myself of that and not taking it too personally. I think it's the focus on two things. I think it's focus on the people at a very personal level. The people have been privileged enough to play a part in their development and transformation, and to lead on a day-to-day basis is to focus on them as who they are and making sure that they feel comfortable and safe to bring their whole authentic selves to work. Once you know who they are and they are comfortable being who they are, they then get right under the covers in understanding what motivates them. They give themselves, through the relationship and trust that is built, the confidence to really push themselves beyond what they maybe thought they were capable of or what they were comfortable in testing themselves in. And then on the other side, it allows me to sort of really push and stretch them to levels because they trust me in the environment that they're in, that, following me or listening to me waffle on will actually get them results and see them stretch themselves personally, first and foremost, but that then unlocks the ability for the professional development to come on in leaps and bounds because of that focus on who they are.